Belgium is probably one of the most underrated countries in Europe, is often overlooked by travelers. And when they do visit, it's often limited to a quick visit to Brussels, Bruges, organs and a taste of Belgian chocolate, beer and waffles. But beyond these places lies a treasure trove of hidden gems, waiting to be discovered. The medieval castles of the Queen, the fairy tale places and natural splendor. Let us embark on a journey to discover the hidden wonders of this enchanting little country. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready to explore the unexpected beauty Belgium's. Foreign places in Belgium are hidden jewels that you're not in this charming little country. So if you want to take a trip to look no further, if you're wondering what to find tulip fields in the Netherlands, think again. And also in the province of East Flanders in Belgium, in the polar regions of the Miradong, near the border with the Netherlands. Several tulip fields have been planted. Dutch farmers rent fields to grow tulip bulbs, because tulips are very susceptible to disease. Can only plant tulips on the same plot of land once every 6 or 7 years. So they come here to rent fields. You can rent a bicycle and ride around the fields here. Please do not enter the fields. Without the farmer's permission. Somewhere deep in the Hui forest, along the tracks, you can find the ruins of a railroad station in Dardenne. The abandoned railroad station was built King Leopold I in the 19th century. He opened a luxury hotel and wanted to welcome his guests to the entire Conde. So he built his train station that looked like a castle. And guests arriving here by train were traveled to the hotel by carriage through the hotel. After the First World War, the station remained closed because it was old and is not guarded. So visit at your own risk. At Your Own Risk is located about 45 kilometers south of Brussels, the ruins of the impressive old Abbey-Ophelis, which was built in the 13th century by Cistercian monks. It is incredibly interesting to walk between the ancient walls and explore every corner of it. The most notable building in these ruins is the church, but you can also explore places like kitchens, dormitories, guest house, apothecary, etc. The guest house, the apothecary, with its incredible herb garden and even vineyards, which used to be a restaurant. After the pandemic, I honestly don't know what happened to its use. All I know is that it looks like a house straight out of a fairy tale. Was built by Dominique Noel. It took him 7 years, and he tried to make it as environmentally friendly as possible. He used local wood and stones from a nearby quarry. Many of the elements have been sourced from reclaimed foreign diseases over 5,000 years old. But what's even more mystical and mysterious is that the stones are perfectly aligned around 8 kilometers. I'm trying to time travel to find a handsome man, like in the TV show Outlander, but unfortunately, I forgot my gems, so it didn't work. In the southernmost part of Belgium, there's an extremely gorgeous town that looks like Provence called Tony, a small village. Looks like a fairy tale with its soft yellow houses decorated with flowers and lavender growing in the tiny front yards. Beautiful vineyards cover the hills surrounding the town, and you can go wine tasting. A wine tasting somewhere high on the granite cliffs, along the river, along the bluff to the great castle. And now all that remains of it are ruins. All that's left of Don Bluff Castle are ruins. The castle was built in the 11th century, but it was destroyed in 1578 when it was occupied by the garrison of William of Orange, and was attacked by Catholic troops at the behest of the Spanish. Was never rebuilt and now stands as an overgrown ruin of a castle that makes you feel like Indiana Jones when you're there. Despite the fact that there are private signs everywhere, many of the locals visit this place as if it were like it's their daily walk with their dog. Just keep in mind that this is a ruin and there's a lot of loose rocks. There is also a small habitat in Belgium, which is located in a recreational park called Domaine de Chevtogno. This park is free to visit. Was born out of an event called Salon Passion Robinson, where architects and builders come to build all sorts of cabins, yurts, tree tents, etc. Usually these creations are dismantled, but the park has kept its hobbit house. This hidden gem is located in the woods near a pond with wooden bridge. Thank you. Deep in the woods near Obi-Sur, Samoa, hide cave carved into the limestone cliff face overhang the Samoan River, which contains an altar dedicated to Sarah McKillop. The altar depicts a saint and a wolf. According to legend, Sarah McKillop lived here with his donkey thanks to gifts from a neighboring villagers. When Satan found out about this, he turned into a wolf to attack the donkey, but during the attack, Sarah McKillop's rose garden fell around his neck, and Sarah McKillop was able to subdue the wolf. One of the most secret places in Belgium is the Wizard's Cottage. It's the hidden gem of Belgium. Among its discoveries, there's a rule of never share its whereabouts. Somewhere on the edge of a forest in Amiens Provence. Armed with it comes an interesting story. An American traveler once visited a very large estate with all its meadows. He liked it and asked the owner to build a small house so that he could come back anytime he wanted to, so that the estate would be the owner. So he agreed, and the cottage was built of reclaimed material. Strangely enough, the American never returned. True adventurers will enjoy the search for this hidden gem. Another place that you'll never believe is in Belgium. This quarry, Belgium has quite a lot of them, and some of them are filled with water, like this one, which makes them look like an emerald green lake, surrounded by beautiful grey canyons. Somewhere in Canada, but never go swim in them. It's dangerous. Most of them are private property and you are not allowed on their property. But for those who are a little more adventurous than the average person, they can try and explore these hidden places in Belgium. This is what I found in a forest in the province of Namur. How I find these places, I must admit that I have a special talent for finding hidden gems in everything. So if you want to become an expert at finding off the beaten path places, I encourage you to purchase my Hidden Experts Guide, in which I share all of my tips and tricks for finding those secret. All the details of the hikes and places mentioned in this video can be found on my blog. I will link to it below in the description of the video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it and subscribe so you want to make sure you don't miss any future videos in the near future. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you some places you can't miss when visiting these places. I will also show you some places from the Harry Potter movies. I hope you enjoy it. Scotland is the northernmost part of the 4 regions that make up the United Kingdom. It's known for its rugged landscapes with mysterious lochs, magical mountains and Gothic castles. Scotland also has a strong culture, Celtic music, traditional kilts, and exquisite whiskey. It is a true land of extremes with rainy and windy weather. Rainy and windy weather makes living and exploring difficult, but the beautiful scenery and friendly people make it an interesting place to travel. In this video, we'll talk about the top 10 places to visit in Scotland. All of these places are relatively close to each other and can be within a 10 to 14 day trip. Be sure to watch to the end because we will also share our itinerary suggestions, as well as even more bonus places to visit in Scotland. So, let's dive in. Our names are Zach and Ian. We make helpful videos about, so you can easily plan your own adventures. Edinburgh, located in the southeast of the country, is Scotland's most beautiful and interesting city. It's the place to experience unique Scottish culture, with a lively pub scene and intriguing historical landmarks. Visit Edinburgh Castle to learn about its turbulent past, climb Calton Hill or Mount Arthur's Seat for beautiful scenery, or catch a live show at one of the many pubs along the Royal Mile. One thing is for sure, you won't get bored here. You can watch our full video on the 10 best things to do in Edinburgh if you want more information about this magical city. Loch Lomond and Trossachs National Park, located about 60 miles or 96 kilometers west of Edinburgh. Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park is the oldest national park in Scotland. It is one of the most popular. Its proximity to urban areas, as well as its wide variety of activities, make it one of the most popular places to visit. There is plenty to do here, from boating on Loch Lomond to hiking or biking on the many trails. What to do here? The West Highland Trail is a popular long-distance hike that crosses the entire park. Other beautiful, but shorter hikes include Bernon in the Trossachs and T.S. and Connick Hill on the eastern shore of Loch Lomond. While hiking Connick Hill, we spotted lots of Highland cows, which made this hike especially rewarding. And here we are at one of the lookouts on Connick Hill, which actually marks the point that separates the lowlands on this side from the Highlands of Scotland on this side, which is quite an interesting fact about this hike. Glencoe Valley. The valley is located in the Scottish Highlands in the west of Scotland. This area is known for its spectacular mountain scenery, beautiful waterfalls, and trails leading to steep peaks such as the Pape of Glencoe. The road through Glencoe Valley passes through the heart of an ancient volcano. Not surprisingly, this otherworldly place has featured in several Harry Potter movies, as well as locations 7 and 6, which we'll cover later. Glen Nevis, located near the town of Fort William. Glen Nevis is one of the most impressive and beautiful locations in the Highlands. First of all, it's home to Britain's highest mountain, Ben Nevis, which you can climb on an impressive day hike. But you can also admire these impressive landscapes via the public road or other shorter trails. We hiked to the impressive Still Falls, one of the 3 highest waterfalls in Scotland. This trail is 1 miles or 5 kilometers long and takes an hour to an hour and a half to complete. This is also where several Harry Potter movies were filmed. It's also the place where Harry fights the Hungarian horned dragon in Gazebo of Fire. Glenfinnan Viaduct. The Glenfinnan Viaduct is just a stone's throw from Glen Nevis, and Fort William is a must-see in Scotland. This 21-arch viaduct, made famous by the Harry Potter movies, is set amongst some of Scotland's best scenery, overlooking Loch Shiel and the Jacobite Monument. One way to explore the area is on foot, and another way is to take the Jacobite steam train. The Jacobite steam train, also called the Hogwarts Express, runs between Fort William and Mallaig. More information about the train's route, schedule, and hike can be found in the description below. And even if you're not a Harry Potter fan, it's still worth a visit. Inverness is the northernmost city in the United Kingdom and is considered the cultural capital of the Scottish Highlands. Like Edinburgh, the city has a fantastic pub scene and great live music in the evenings. Highlights of the city include Inverness Cathedral, Leakey's Bookshop, and a walk to the Ness Islands. But one of our favourite things to do was tasting whiskey from different parts of Scotland. Loch Ness is just a short drive from Inverness and is one of the most famous places in all of Scotland. The legend of the monster named Nessie goes back to ancient times. Over the years there have been various reports of encounters with Nessie, and the first written account was in a biography of St. Columba dating back to 565 AD. Although many of these accounts have been disproved over the years, it's still very interesting to go to the lake and try to Nessie. You can watch our full video from Inverness to learn more about the best places to look for Nessie and where you can find out more about the history of Loch Ness. Eilean Donan Castle. Eilean Donan Castle is one of the most photographed castles in the world, and for good reason. The reason? It is ideally situated on a small island and is connected to the mainland by a charming curved bridge. To the mainland, it really does look like something out of a fairy tale. The fortifications were first built in the middle of the 13th century, and since then different versions of the castle have been built. Since then. It's a great stop on the way to the Isle of Skye, which we'll talk about next. Just past Eilendonen Castle, there's a street that goes up, and from here you get an unobstructed view, and it's really impressive. So you should definitely check it out. Old Manstorsky is Scotland's second largest island, and in our opinion has the most picturesque ones here, and, in our opinion, has the most scenic views you'll encounter on your trip. Old Manstore is the most iconic place on the island. Old Manstore is the most iconic spot on the island, attracting many hikers and tourists. Try to go there early in the morning if to avoid the crowds and get a parking space. The hike itself can be done in a 5-kilometer semicircle and takes 1.5 to 2 hours. At the summit offers views of Store's curious rock formations sticking out at odd angles. Quirine is located on the northern tip of the Isle of Skye and boasts some of the best natural views in the whole of Scotland. Best natural views in the whole of Scotland. The rugged landscape was created as a result of a landslide of the ground under a large cliff has created strange rock formations. From the parking lot, you can enjoy great views of the peaks. But if you want a more in-depth experience, we recommend a hike to see the formations up close and get a better look at the lakes below. Be sure to check out our other video on the best on things to do on the Isle of Skye for even more stunning views of this magical island. Itinerary and tips for traveling around Scotland. We've also included some on-screen itinerary options in case you want to use them for traveling on your own. To get to these places, it's best to rent a car, and you can find great at the link in the description below. If you have more time in Scotland or want to see more castles, urban areas or islands, it's worth checking out some of the other great places that we haven't mentioned. We've given a brief list on the screen here, but to find out more about other destinations, follow the link in the description. If you are planning your trip to Scotland, we recommend getting organized with our interactive travel planner. Find the discount code below. We've also included important links you'll need for your trip to Scotland in the description, such as a full guide, where to stay, where to eat, and an interactive map so you can get to every place we've mentioned. See you on your next adventure.
What's up guys, my name is Sam, and today I'm going to take a look at the best things to do while visiting Rome, Italy. I want to show you around. Pantheon. I'm starting here at the Roman Pantheon. This building has been here since 609 AD. It was a former Roman temple for the Catholic Church here in Rome, a very old building. When it was originally built is unknown, but you'll notice that right in the middle there's an oculus, and it's said that when it was commissioned, the oculus was there to allow people in the temple to be in direct contact with the heavens. Pantheon in Greek actually means dedicated to all the gods, and before it was a Catholic temple, it was a church for all the gods. And when in Rome, your Italian cuisine absolutely have to do what the Romans do and eat like a Roman, which is Italian food here and there. There's gonna be a lot of different very popular pasta carbonara, porchetta, here. Also there's going to be a number of different seafood that you get here, shrimp. Obviously Rome is about a 45 to 50 minutes from the coast, which allows them to still get fresh seafood. Even if they're landlocked, they will also have different kinds of gelato. You have gelato, you have fresh bread for pizza, so much food here in Rome, a lot of fresh produce, from oranges and citrus fruits to the fresh vegetables that you also find. Navona, and this particular piazza is actually very famous because of the Barber Oak Piazza, which is also known for several masterpieces of art by artists such as Bernini and Bratan, which means it also has beautiful fountains, 3 of which stand out, the Fontana, and then they have the Fontana del Moro and the Fontana del Nicino. This here square is actually built on the ruins of the Stadium of Domitian, which was one of the famous theaters or exhibition grounds for the ancient Romans. It actually dates back to the 1st century AD when they played games here, in this place. But nowadays it's a popular place to visit to take pictures, to hang out, and also people are looking now at the Trevi Fountain. This 18th century fountain is actually 86 feet high and the Trevi Fountain 161 feet wide. The name comes from the Latin word trivium, which actually means the intersection of three streets. The location of the Trevi Fountains is located on the aquifer of the Aqua Virgo, which actually led into Agrippa's Bassus. It served for over 400 years as an aqueduct for the basin. So you're looking here, you're looking at a crossroads on 3 different roads and the Virgo aquifer, and then we're heading to Castel San Angelo Street. Angelo, which was actually built as a mausoleum for the Emperor Hadrian, so he built it for himself, but it eventually became a fortress and castle for the popes of the Vatican. At one point, this building was actually the tallest structure in Rome. It is now a museum. The best way to approach this mausoleum is via the Tiber Bridge, which actually crosses the river Tibera Colosseum, and you'll see 2 statues of the Archangel Michael on either side, and then we're actually heading towards the world-famous Colosseum. It's the largest ever ancient amphitheaters ever built, so it's big and it's an amazing elliptical amphitheater, and this is where they actually had gladiatorial fights and public performances where they hunted animals and where real gladiators fought each other to the death. They said that the stadium itself actually holds about 60,000 people for one of these shows. The Colosseum is actually built out of Travertine limestone, which is a tough volcanic rock with concrete faced with brick. It was built under the Emperor Vespasian in the year 80 AD, so it's a very old structure. And next time I'm going to recommend the Tiber River. Go down to the Tiber River. Now you can walk here or you can take a boat. But what you'll see here is ancient Rome and how this tributary of the river actually contributed to the growth of this ancient city. Whatever the time of year, it's always a great time to go up and down the river here in the spring. It's best because of the blooming of the flowers, but the St. Peter's Cathedral, if you can try to take a boat ride up and down the river to see all the bridges. And now let's move on to the St. Peter's Basilica, and you have to go inside if you really want to see the amazing architecture. It was built between 1506 and 1626, so it took 120 years to build this basilica. And then immediately Street Peter's Square behind Street Peter's Basilica is St. Peter's Square. This is where the Pope usually addresses the Catholic world, and the significance of St. Peter's Square and the Basilica is that it's the place where St. Peter was actually buried, and it's not far from the Vatican, where the Sistine Chapel also. The lines here grow fast, so get here early. And now that the historical center comes to the neighborhoods, check out Centro Storico. There will be these old classic restaurants and beef stores and galleries, and just walking around here, you'll see how people lived, and still today people actually rent and live in the center of the historic. But remember, this is the heart and soul of Rome, very close to many of the major attractions. So if you can get an Airbnb here, or if you can stay in a hotel right here in the center of the historical, this would be a great place to stay. Historic, it's gonna be a great place where you're gonna really hear what it sounds like walking around here. So let's go ahead and do that now that the Spanish Steps. We're on the iconic Spanish Steps. It actually goes up the hill to Plaza España, Spain. And this area right here is historic because it goes back to the 1700s when they were actually built by a Frenchman named Ethan Guyfer. And the Trastevere Vatican museums being in the Vatican, one of them is not necessarily a museum, it's a chapel, and it's called the Sistine Chapel. You look up on the roof and you'll see an amazing work of art painted by none other than Michelangelo. There are 26 museums inside the Vatican, including the Gregorian Egyptian Museum, the Carriage Pavilion, Raphael's Room, the Spiral Staircase, and many more that you can also check out. Remember, there are 26 of them. So when you enter the Vatican, take your passport with you so that you will be allowed to process immigration. When you visit, the high-speed train, talking about my favorite things. Superfast train, I really like to take the superfast train from Rome and go to Florence and be there in about 2 hours, it's great. Or if I want to go south, I can get to Naples, so you can easily get to places like Florence or Naples from Rome, even if you just want to take a day trip. So be sure to check out those superfast trains like Trenitalia, Alta Fatherland. Now let's continue this tour and show you more of Rome. Now we are heading to the Altar of the Fatherland. It's impressive. The National Monument actually looks almost like it's the Capitol building. But it's actually a monument to Victor Emmanuel I, who was the first king of United Italy. It's really cool to see 2 Italian flags flying in the wind. And you can walk up the steps and it's quite an amazing journey. It's really picturesque and beautiful, so I recommend at least staying here. It's right next to the Roman Forum, so it's also conveniently located. and once you get to the top you can walk inside and see what the Piazza Popolo going on inside. Next is Piazza del Popolo. It's actually right next to the Spanish Steps, so you can do both when you're in the area. It's about a 15 to 20 minute cab ride from the historic center. Also a big Egyptian obelisk, so you'll know you're there. In the square when you see that you can also see what it looks like from the air. Here is a pretty impressive place right in the center of the city. And now what we're actually going to do is head to the Roman Forum. To the Roman Forum, we're going to walk around this area. There's the Circus Maximus and the old town, so we're going to walk around and take a virtual tour. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to take you around this beautiful city here in Rome, this ancient metropolis, which is now a big modern metropolis. I would recommend at least 72 to 96 hours if you're going to stay in Rome. It's a must-see. Everyone should see it at least once in their life. The island hopping that will complete this episode of Rome, the best things to do now. We're actually heading to our next destination, which is Barcelona, so we'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you all for subscribing and joining Travel Vision Abroad.